Okay, let me start off by saying I'm not a pro Magic player, not a close to pro Magic player, not a semi-pro, not a nothing Magic player. I've listened to a lot of pros talk about the game and also played a lot of the game, but not a pro by any means, and not even also a pro communicator or video maker or whatever the fuck. So, all that said, I have learned a lot personally from like card games, trading card games, a lot of things I think you could apply in real life. And one of these is going to be about your minimum amount of cards in your deck. So, and I'll tie it into real life for the, I assume, mass audience. Well, mass audience. Mass percentage of the audience that doesn't play a Magic or a card game. Not that this video will have a mass audience. But anyway, so you can have a deck of minimum 60 cards. Has to be at least 60 in like most formats, blah blah blah. There's like exceptions, of course, to everything, but and I don't know if there's an upper limit. You can go to at least 250, I know that. But like let's say the upper limit's like 120 or whatever, right? So the reason you want a 60 card deck versus like a 100 card deck is mostly pretty simple. It's about consistency and about putting the best cards in your deck that you can. So, with a 60 card deck, assumingly you're putting your 60 best cards for whatever the strategy is in your deck, right? So, you have your first best card, your second best card, your third best, all the way down to your 60th best card. And also, these are all like the cards you need to win. Like nobody's making like a 60 card deck that can't win, really. Something blue white control players, am I right? But it's a little magic joke. Anyway, yeah, 60 cards that can't win. So what ends up happening is that 61st, that 62nd, that 63rd, those are your 61st, 62nd, 63rd worst cards. And you could just have your 60 best and never draw like the 60, like the last place card. And then your deck is more consistent in its like strategy and da 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 da. So I think hopefully that makes a little sense. But how it applies in real life, with me personally, I think about it with clothes a lot and how often I like use like my washer dryer and blah blah blah. And I've also realized, I've learned since talking to people about this, different for people, usually women, who will have like a lot of more niche kind of pieces, outfits, items, etc. There's like also the wearing things again, pressures, so blah blah blah, right? But basically, when I, get all my clothes cleaned, right? It's just like there's shirts that I really like and they're getting like worn first, right? Like my first best shirt, my first best card, and so on and so forth. And it's like, slowly the pickings are coming down and then it's getting to my worst shirts and I'm like, oh, it's time to like wash again. I got a lot of clothes dirty. And so whatever those clothes that are like always at the end of like my closet of my like washing drying cycle, that's what I know is like on the chopping block, right? Like, oh, I'm never wearing this. And like that's something, doesn't take all this to identify like, oh, I never wear this, right? But it's helpful with kind of thinking about that consciously of like what, obviously I'm wearing the stuff I'm wearing first because I like it more and blah blah blah, and how can I cut down and also kind of curate more, clothes that I like or am into at the moment or blah blah blah. It's pretty helpful in that way. And then we get into the sideboard, which speaks to the niche clothes. So in Magic, with your 60 card deck, you have a 15 card sideboard, which you get to exchange cards between your deck and your sideboard in between games of a match. So a match will be a best of three. So you'll play, up to 3 games to see who wins the match. And in between those games, you're able to access this sideboard, this suite of cards, and exchange cards between your deck. And so what is that for? Well, it's for, again, there's exceptions and everything, and also I'm not a pro and blah blah blah. But basically, a lot of times it's often like very niche or more niche, but powerful answers to strategies that your deck may like struggle against, or whatever, cards that will greatly improve your odds of like winning the game if you draw them versus like certain strategies. So like let's say there's another deck that really cares about the graveyard where stuff goes when it dies, and you have a card in your sideboard that says you don't get a graveyard. That really is a problem for the graveyard deck, right? But it's not a card you want in your main deck like all the time because not every deck is going to be a graveyard deck, you know? Same thing with like the close with these like more niche or whatever pieces is like just because you're not wearing it like all the time doesn't mean it doesn't have a use, right? Like some of them are like sideboard pieces, like whatever, like a suit for if you don't always wear a suit for your job, or dress clothes. I don't know, you know? It's the niche stuff is okay as long as it like does fulfill a niche and is not just like your 14th worst shirt or top or whatever. It's your like first best suit, you know? So that is another way you can apply. Yeah. I don't know, it's like a good way. It's been helpful for me to like keep in mind like what is like serving me versus like what is not, you know, just am I actually like using this? Like it helps, it's a helpful way to like take stock of things, you know? Um I can apply to as many things as you want, really, like food choices, like, you know, oh, if I find like I'm getting groceries and this is like always the last thing that I'm eating when I get, you know, the same groceries or whatever, then it's like, maybe I try like something else, try cutting this out, try something, or maybe it's okay. It's also okay to just have that last thing all the time. You know, something's going to be the 60th worst and the 59th worst and the 58th and so on, and something's, you know, some things do barely make the cut, but they are making the cut. But yeah, that is it, I think. Let me know if you liked it, if it made any sense, I guess. I keep looking at my closet. But yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do more of these. I was planning on it, but this was much harder than I thought it would be. So, who knows? You know, me and doing things, not the greatest combination. But, anyways, yeah. Thanks for watching. Oh, bye.